get up there. So silver is primed and ready. Gold's already done this. Silver it's time to shine. And of course, with this media really picking up on trying to create the short squeeze, a news-based move it's just a surge of emotions. It's a surge of coverage, of media, of marketing, more or less. I don't see anything that moves on media to be a real move. It's just a fake kind of push. But when you see moves in price that happen when there's no news, no one's interested in it, those are the ones that are exciting. For example, platinum broke into a new bull market this year. Nobody's really talking about it. No one's interested in buying platinum bars or rounds. I mean, that's pretty exciting. I mean, we saw gold break into a bull market in 2019, silver in 2020. Here in 2021, platinum is doing it. It's kind of like a sleeper bull market that people aren't paying attention to. I think it's really powerful. And then you look over at silver, and everyone's been talking about silver, and it had a big pop on news. And the problem is when the media gets a hold of it, it's generally a done deal. It cooks it. You might get a 1 or 3 day pop, but after that, it's done, because the media and the general public are the last people to get on board of a trend. Mm-hmm. So when they hit it, okay, well, that's it. I mean, any technical trader would be positioned in those trends already. And then when the media hits, it's just kind of like icing on the cake if you're able to get out. They're pop and drops is what they are. I mean, we've seen it across the board. Everyone gets sucked in on the big up days, the big gaps to the upside, and then they reverse and crash. And it actually hurts, it hurts all the small guys who are chasing it and getting in on that news at the worst possible time. And the reality is the institutions are making a fortune shorting these things. And I mean, really, they were the perfect storms for them to re-enter shorts or add to their shorts if they didn't get squeezed out. And I mean, the big money is really tough to beat. And if you follow the market and you've been trading for a long time, these news-based pops, that's the way they always move. I mean, there's nothing new about a pump, more or less a pump and dump is what they are. It happens in penny stocks all the time. It does a lot of damage to the small investor who's trying to make money and trying to get back at Wall Street. But the problem is you still get hurt doing it. And so it's a dangerous game to play for sure. So we saw silver go completely oversold, and then obviously it started to get coverage in media. And we saw a huge pop when everyone heard about it. It was a mainstream financial news. Everyone was talking about, Reddit, they're talking about silver stocks. And of course, what happens is everybody hears it in the media. They go and they buy it right at the open when all this media hits, because that's when the masses actually hear about it. And then, of course, what does price do? I mean, it fell 20%. It's still down, 8+%. It does a lot of damage. And all it is a pop and drop. It's not a real move. I think there could be a silver squeeze coming. I think the silver market is a lot different than a stock. When we saw the stock squeeze in GME and AMC, those were real. Those were full-on short squeezes. But silver's a little different. It's a commodity. You've got to wait for futures contracts to expire. You've got to wait for the delivery and the lack of delivery. There's no supply. I think there's going to be all these layers that kind of come in, and eventually the futures and the spot price, everything will start to squeeze up higher. So there's a bit of a delay there, and I'd love to see it. I mean, a real silver squeeze, I think we could see $40, $80 an ounce. It would be pretty amazing. And if we do see that, I would be selling a lot of my silver, because what goes straight up on a squeeze or media coverage, I mean, is usually going to come straight back down. You can reload later at a much lower price. If you love silver, which I do. All the time, we're all learning more and more that it's harder to get metals, physical delivery. And now we've hit this new kind of phase where the mass public are piling into buying physical. And I think that's applying pressure to the system. And I think there's going to be a delay, but I think by the end of this year, or potentially over the next 2 or 3 months, I think we could see metals potentially go a lot higher, because there's just so much money just buying. I mean, if everybody just bought around a week or around a month, I mean, there's hundreds of millions of people. I mean, and that's kind of the whole movement, right? Is to get this silver squeeze and make it happen. And it could totally happen. I think it will happen. The question is just how soon. And just the fact that I think there's going to be so many people owning precious metals and wanting physical delivery that we're going to eventually just see the demand continue to pick up, and price is going to eventually follow suit. People are going to realize, get into silver now before it takes off, and that's going to create everybody to pile in and buy silver. So a bit of a rough ride when we look at metals, because if the stock market does go into a bit deeper of a correction this year, which every year there's always a 10 to 20% correction almost in the stock market. And if that happens, we're going to see metals most likely pull back with them, just like we always do. So I don't think they're going to be going in a straight line. Now, if we were to look at silver here, if we were to look at the short-term chart, just based on this really sharp drop, Fibonacci extensions, we're still looking at roughly $24 on the short term for silver to the downside. So this is a sell-off, a bear flag, and then the second half of that sell-off. So if that happens and we get to 24, to me, that's a screaming buy. That is, we're at long-term support. We're through the noise of all this consolidation. We're at this pivot low. We're at this pivot low. And it's 100% measured move. To me, that would be, hey, this is an oversold level. If you are a precious metals, like physical accumulation kind of person, want to save it, this is the type of point you can buy it and relax. Now, if we zoom out to the big picture here, we're looking for silver to reach roughly $40. I'm excited about. I'd love to see this 40 hit. It could create that short squeeze that could spike it up to 80. That would be absolutely amazing. Lots of money to be made if that happens. And that could happen over the next 2.5 months. Gold kind of moved first, and we've seen that time and time again. Gold broke out in 2019, as I talked about, into a new bull market. Silver was a year later. New bull market. The first pause or pullback can be bought. Now, the way gold moved here is it ran up. It's hard to see this, but this is a running correction, which is a really powerful move. It means there's so much money piling into it, it's actually not going to flag in the opposite direction. So we had this very strong move and rally, and then we got this first bull flag. And so the first pause or pullback in a bull market is one of the best opportunities to get into something. After that, the masses pile in and they drive the price up, and you let them do all the heavy lifting, right? So if we were to look at silver now, silver chart's very similar. We got the multi-year base. It had its first breakout way down here. We had the first kind of short squeeze in silver last year. It was going to bring us potentially all the way up here to this 40 mark. We could see this take off and get up there. So silver is primed and ready. Gold's already done this. Silver it's time to shine. And of course, with this media really picking up on trying to create the short squeeze, I think it's putting the odds more in our favor that it is going to happen. So I really like it.